Hello. I think you're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Well,
thank you very much for your time.
No, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to change the time. No
problem at all. It is our pleasure to have this meeting, to have this session with you.
Yeah. So Shinya, you're now in Shanghai, right?
So I'm normally based in Shanghai, but then I'm actually on the business trip right now. So I'm taking this call from London.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's actually my first time to step out from China prison, I guess.
And then you got problem would you have problem going back into China?
So yes, I still have to go through 1 week quarantine.
Okay.
Yeah, but then going back shouldn't be a problem unless there's any serious the change on the immigration.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think Jiaying couldn't get login, so I share my login with him. That's why we got two Teoh Kok. You mean?
Oh, okay.
You can change the name, I guess. Are you able to change the name or?
Let me try.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, because she didn't get the link to get joined.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's a little bit
yeah, okay now. All good. Wei Shen, are you in China or?
Singapore.
Singapore, okay. And
So
you're
we should
with
wait.
you or NUS or?
Oh,
Sorry.
actually, I'm from SUSS.
SUSS.
Yeah, it's a relatively new university in Singapore.
Okay.
Yeah, I think a lot of people joining right now, but then the club members, please turn your camera on. And then, I think you can, you should keep yourself mute for the first part of the sessions. So I don't know exactly how many students are joining today's session, but then I expect maybe 15, 20.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
I think Tai Chang is also online as well. Oh, here you go.
Yeah, I met her. We met up with her physically for the first time.
Oh, that's
a week
great.
ago.
Oh, amazing.
She interned with us during the lockdown, so everything virtual. So for 2 months, so when I first met her last week, I said, have I met? No, I forgotten that didn't meet her physically. I think we can do without. Oh, okay. We can do without this. Oh, okay. Without the screen first, I think.
Okay.
And then I meet another I met Jane today. Chai Xuan. Jane is also yeah. So like she turned out in this morning we were doing some participating in a charity food fair.
She chatted to me as well.
Yeah, then she came and said hi. I said, oh yeah, again seeing them for the first time physically. Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, so I'm having a lot of so-called first-time meetings, and then I think everyone thinking, oh, you look very different from Zoom. But anyway, thank you very much, Mr. Teoh Kok Lin, to join.
Call me Kok Lin. Yeah,
okay, Kok Lin, yes. Thank you very much for joining today's session, Meet the Investor of Generation Z Investment Club. So we are a Singapore-based non-profit organizations. We are promoting investors journey of the young investors, like the students joining today's call. We are actually going through the boot camp right now for the incoming students of this year, and then they have gone through, I think, 5 weeks so far. We are doing 3 the case studies, and then we are selecting 6-7 students for value investing program, and also we have, I think, 15-16 students for ESG investing program. So right now we are running 2 different programs. One is the value investing programs, the other one is the ESG investing programs. And then the members of the ESG investing program will join so-called ESG Academy, which is another, I think, 7 or 8 weeks program studying the ESG materials. It doesn't mean the students in the value investing program are taking easy on investing, but then they will join the investment activities right after the boot camp. So we are very excited to have not only talented and then smart students, but they are really engaged, and then they're very they're interested in investing activities. Today this is an English sessions, so we haven't invited the Chinese speaking members, but then like Tai Chuang, she's actually a part of the Greater China chapter of value investing program. So we are running 2 different languages, so the Chinese and then English, and then the Tai Chuang is actually a part of the China team. But anyway, so today's sessions, we have about 1 hour to spend with you, the Kok Lin, and then the thank you, Jian, joining the session as well. And I think most of the members also joined the session with the Su-Cheng Tang, who introduced us to Kok Lin. So I believe there's some continuation of the conversations, and then maybe investment philosophy, investor's journey as well. A lot of people, a lot of students are very impressed by Yulin's sharing. I'm sorry, not Yulin. Sorry, Su-Chen's sharing. Yulin is actually another friend of mine. So we're quite excited to hear your investor journey, Kok Lin, and also you are sharing. We are also going through the case studies as I mentioned. So we'd love to hear what you expect from analysts as a PM. Like what kind of the communication do you expect, and what makes the analyst a good analyst? Because one of the messages I'm telling the sharing with students, the members right now, is good analysis itself doesn't make good analysts. It is also important for them to understand how to communicate with portfolio managers and also their peers, and then the convincing their seniors or maybe their teammates is also part of very important investing process. Because no matter how good your analysis is, but then if you cannot convince someone that this is actually a good investment, then investment opportunity might be wasted. But anyway, I just I want to go through this Q&A like sessions for the first 30 minutes, and then the second half I will open the floor to Q&A, if that's okay.
Yeah, perfect, Shinya.
Okay, well, thank you very much again. So the members, please turn your camera on. We want to make sure you are here, and then you're listening, and then you're not sleeping. But then we want to make sure that this is more interactive sessions. So having your camera on, I think it's important. But anyway, so this is actually first time to speak to the Kok Lin in length, and then I'm also personally quite interested in his investor journey. So usually I want to ask our managers the origin of their investor journey at a very, very early stage. Maybe where Kok Lin is coming from, and then how you the start. What was your first investing experience?
Well, Shinya, thank you very much. And I think what you're doing is wonderful when I first met you. And it is so refreshing, and I see so many of you putting your effort and times. I'm very biased. I think fund management, being analysts are wonderful things to do, right? And for me, my journey has been, I would say, completely unplanned, right? Because I also like Suchan. I come from Malaysia. I know Suchan from Malacca. He was promoting Malacca, but I come from another small town called Taiping. And you must write this down, Taiping, because it's been voted one of the top 10 best place to live in the world, right? And you must go.
Oh, wow.
I just went back there 4 weeks ago, and it's a beautiful place. And I love to promote my home kampong as well, and and wonderful food as well. So anyway, but I'm a different background in the sense that both my parents, both of them migrated from China. My father never had any formal education at all. My mother, I think primary 4 as well. So it's a very different background. But despite that, I think they instilled 2 very important values in me and my siblings. One is actually they work really hard. So I know people say, oh, you have to work smart, shouldn't work up, but I'm still the old school. Working hard is very important. The other thing is education. Even though my parents doesn't have much education at all, they know the important education. And that has become important. So to me, it's become a lifelong learning as well. And I love the fund management industry because you're constantly learning. In fact, I just jumping as well. In fact, I've been telling a lot of clients, people as well, even though I've been working for 35 years now. But I would say that if you look at the global market environment today, it may be very different from the last 35 years. But the last 35 years, especially the last 20 years, the world were in a lower inflation, called the Great Moderation, lower and lower inflation period, right? And therefore, interest rate have to come down, whatever. And that's an environment. But for the next 5-10 years, we may well have to learn to live with inflation of 4, 5, 6%. And so it's completely a new thing to me as well. I have to relearn and rethinking about the whole process. But as I say that, and I also go through a very interesting, funny school system. So first 6 years of primary school, everything is being taught in Mandarin, right? And then my next 6 years are all in Bahasa Malaysia, the Malay language. I was a batch that actually, everything converted to Malay. Then I went to high school in Canada, all in English. So my English is poor, my Malay is poor, my Chinese also 不太好, So, but so the only thing I maybe is slightly better maybe is math as well. And maybe I mean, going from there, we don't have no internet, have no guideline. I mean, when you apply for university, you try to look for some books, you don't know which is what as well. So I also don't have proper mentor to say what subject to do. So maybe, everyone say, oh, maybe be an engineer, right? So you be engineer. So I actually study engineering. And I think I did quite well first couple of years engineering school in Canada. But then like most student at that point in time, the parents spend a lot of money for you to go to study abroad. You just try to maximize. Then I know some friends who are also doing a finance classes. They say, there's this program, you can do 2 programs. And I start overloading myself. So I was doing crazy, 14 subject per semester, right? And so engineering and finance, and I really love finance. So I finished 2 degree finance. Then again, I was in a mission of doing everything compressed, right? So I went to an MBA program in the US, Purdue, because they have 11-month programs, right? So everything have to be compressed, work really hard. Then in fact, I also got accepted to a PhD in finance in UCLA, but they didn't give me any scholarship, right? So at that point in time also, you don't know where to apply whatsoever for scholarship. Then I just came back to Malaysia. But that's in 1987. there was Malaysia just gone through a deep recession, 84, 85, everything was really bad. And again, there was no internet, bear in mind, so the only thing then you just look at newspaper, right? Applying for jobs. And I just happened to apply to various jobs, and then I got a job accepted into a place called Citibank. I don't even know how big is Citibank, whatever, they have a branch. And I remember it very interesting. When I went to Citibank for interview, the CEO was very young. I think he was just 31 years old, Sri Lankan, Haran.
Wow.
Brilliant guy, very smart guy. And it was very funny as well. When I went for interview, the security guard somehow said, "Oh, you're coming for interview, right?" And he seems to like me as well. I say, "Oh, be very fast with the CEO. He's very switched on." Okay. I said, "Why are you telling me this, right?" And I also, when I talked to the secretary to the CEO, Haran, and Karen also telling me, say, "Oh, you have to be quick with the answer, And true enough, the CEO came in a small room and he looked at my resume. He just asked me one question. I can't remember exactly what question. I answered him. Then the next moment say, "Okay, no, you're hired. Offer you a job,
Wow, that's fast.
Yeah, and I was like shocked, right? Because I was like preparing all the interviewing question, your weaknesses, your strength, what a difficulty encounter, and all of a sudden say, "Oh," so I have to quickly almost like jump into the second last question in my interview question, right? My prepared question, and then I could then say, "Oh, when do I need to get back to you?" Right? Then he looked at his watch. It took me 1 minute. You have 60 seconds. Right? In hindsight, I must say I was lucky. Citibank has been a very good first step for me.
So what kind of the position was this?
Interesting, Shinya, when we first joined, it's called a management associate. For 2 months, they'll rotate you to every division, right? So I have to be a cashier, learning from this lady called Louise Cham how to check for counterfeit notes as well, counting money. I have to verify signature on a check. It's really old school, have to stamp, and just go through all the various division as well. And then only after that, they assign you to different department. And the head of the training program, and he actually quite liked me. So he wanted me to join his group, which is in operation, right? And I was very lucky. There's this girl called Lenny Pang. Lenny was the secretary, right? I mean, she's a secretary. In fact, at that point in time, Citibank were quite advanced. They're shared secretary. One secretary served 3-4 people. And Lenny basically say, "Oh, no, you don't go to operation. You want to learn credit, And I say, "Am I allowed to choose?" They say, "Yes, you can, And then she basically brought me to this guy called Anthony Yeo. And he was a great mentor. So forever I always tell that I owe it to people like Lenny Pang, a secretary, right? Without her, I could be very good at operational and just retire happily, perhaps, right? But he basically said, "Hey, you can go and then talk to Anthony Yeo," and Anthony Yeo said, "Fine." And then it was a fantastic 3.5 years. I worked with Anthony from 8 a.m. until 10 p.m. at night, almost every day. But I learned so much from him. He basically told me, say, "Forget about balance sheet." And I said, wait, I just came back from MBA, I can do DCF, whatever. He said, "But this balance sheet doesn't mean anything at all. A lot of this profit being parked overseas. This number doesn't tell you the true picture, right?" And it's very interesting, because all of a sudden you realize, say, wait, in reality, there's a lot of quite different. So basically, eventually you have to say, do I even trust the number? Right? And that, to me, a very important lesson. So I think lesson number 1, if I could share for today, is actually, it is important to have a good mentor. So from Anthony, then when I went to stockbroking, Eugene, I think the mentors help a lot. So if you were to go and look for a place to work, whatever, identify the mentor. Even though you could be working in a great company, but if you end up with a different mentor, you may not progress as much as you want. So I think that's quite crucial. Secondly, I think be nice to everyone. I mean, I could be a hotshot MBA and look down on the secretary, then my life would be completely different. No, they are very important people. In fact, Citibank taught me a lot of things. I mean, one of the secretary, Elaine Fan, today she was a secretary, right? And today she's number 2 or number 3 in Citibank Malaysia, right? I mean,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, amazing. So Citibank taught me a lot to say that everything is possible. Don't underestimate yourself.
And the secretaries are always very powerful because they determine the schedule of the people.
Yeah, and they have the knowledge, and so I think this is very important as well. I think basically, great mentor, don't underestimate yourself. Everyone is possible. In fact, if you ask me today, if I look for people, I look for attitude. I mean, even if someone doesn't have any degree at all, if it convinces me, it looks good, I think that is a more important criteria, right? So that's where my journey. So I was in Citibank for 3.5 years.
Oh, can I ask one question?
Yep.
Yes. So one of your mentor mentioned that, don't trust numbers because the numbers could be cooked, or maybe the manufacturers. But then, so what did he tell you to trust or believe?
Okay, I think very good point, Shinya. So for me, it's a people, the management, right? And this till today is one of a core investing principle for my firm, my team member. It is a people management. If you don't trust the people, so if you look at the company for us as well, you all start with the management, the people. Then only you look at the industry attractiveness and the company structure. Only then look at valuation. We'll never start with valuation. People say, Kok Lin, this stock is very cheap. P multiple is cheap. The cash value is more than the share price. If I don't trust the management, forget it. Right? I think that is, to me, is a very, very fundamental.
Wow, that's extremely insightful. So after Citibank, what happened? What happened to you?
Well, I wouldn't go to it was in 1990, and equity research was very, very new. Today you have all the Jefferies, CLSA, Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, stock analysts. In 1990, in Malaysia, there's no such thing called fundamental stock analysis at all. Everything is about story, rumor, people trade. And all this company called Barclay DZW, BZW. And they set up one, and someone introduced me to work there, right? It's completely new field. I was there for a very short while, only like 8 months. Then Citibank also started their own equity research. So the CEO called me back, say, Kok Lin, you want to join this equity research? We can't offer you before. Now we're setting one new one. Why don't you come join us?
Oh, so Citibank, Citi Malaysia didn't even have the equity research departments back then.
No, don't have at all.
Wow.
Then 1990. So it was a company called Barclay DZW, which is again no longer appear part of Barclay. So I was there for about 8 months. Then Citibank set out their own, asked me to join them. So I went back to Citibank because I really love them. And within 10 months, Citibank shut down the place. So my boss, Jim Hunter, said, "Oh, Kok Lin, can you help us to shut it down? And then come back to Citibank," right? So I shut it down, then I moved on to join Barings, right? So Barings, if you remember the guy called Nick Leeson, right?
That's another interesting story.
Yeah. So I was an equity research with Barings in Malaysia. Again, was pure luck as well. Barings would, at that point in time, was very, very, what they call popular. They're very good at marketing. They're very good team. So all the fund manager globally, if you want to invest in Asia, it comes to Barings. So Barings was very, very powerful at point in time, right? And I was like 26, 27 years old, right? only been working for 4 or 5 years. But it's amazing, right? I always tell people that when I was an equity analyst at Barings, all of a sudden my opportunity changes tremendously. When I was at Citibank, if I want to go and see a CEO of a company, a publicly listed company, for example, right? As a credit analyst, I have my boss, immediate boss. I have the chief credit officer. I have a account manager and the CEO, right? Now, if they got to secure a meeting with the CEO of a publicly listed company, it's a big deal. The CEO will go, and all the senior will go. And if the car have a space that I manage to squeeze in, then I get to go. Otherwise, I don't get to go, right? And even if I go to that meeting with the CEO, guess what do I do? Right? I just sit there quietly taking notes. Because, you let the CEO, the senior all asking questions, you just quietly taking note, right? And that was really life as a credit analyst then. And also when you become an equity analyst, boom, I get to see the CEO almost every week, right? I get to ask all the questions because why? Because Barings have a lot of this foreign fund manager, right? Your Fidelity, there was no BlackRock then, it was Fidelity, Capital International. And so all these owner of public listed company wanted to see fund manager, because fund manager come in, invest in them. So I become almost the single most important person. I bring them there. I'll sit down, I talk to them, and then I get to see the CEO almost like, and during the time 1990 to 1993, Asia had a super bull run, right? Asia was really a newfound period, and everyone just really loved Asia. And it was also incredible because we get to travel almost around the world. Again, at 27, 28 years or so, you travel really well. You go to Japan, for 10 days to meet all the investor, right? From Nomura Asset Management to insurance company, and then you go to Hong Kong, Australia, US, UK, Europe as well. And US, I remember during the super bull run in 1993, when the stock market was so crazy, everyone was very interested in knowing about Southeast Asia and Malaysia. At the peak, I was having something like 13 or 14 clients meeting in a single day. So I start a breakfast meeting with Bill Yoon of a fiduciary at 7 o'clock breakfast, 8 o'clock breakfast, 9 o'clock, and all the way until supper at 9 o'clock, right? Because everyone wanted to know about it, right? That was unreal. Thinking back, it was completely unreal, and a lot of things we recommend actually wasn't very fundamental as well. Of course, after 1993, then 96, 97, 98, Asian financial crisis, a lot of things end up in tears, right? And if you look back, there was an interesting period because you get to see a very interesting human behavior, right? During the boom time, everyone just want to hear the story. Corporates are very keen to tell you what they want you to hear, right? And some of them, in fact, a lot of them lie to you. I've been cheated by many of them, right? And thinking back, I was very naive as well. But throughout my whole period, I find that the American fund managers are probably the one of those that are most analytical, much more value, much more driven. They are the one that ask me a lot of very tough questions, right? Like capital, fidelity. They'll ask you a really, really tough question, and I actually learn quite a lot from them about real investing. Yeah, maybe I just stop here first. Any before I go, any question, or should I just go on? Or
yeah, I think that this is the amazing, exciting story. So would love to hear more about your journey. And then I think a lot of story is probably new to many the members. But then the learning from the history and then your experience is amazing, amazing lessons for all of us.
Yeah, I think it's you're right in the sense that those are really I still really sometimes think about those period, and but of course eventually you know that whatever bubble all end out in tears, right? So Asia suffered a financial crisis in 1998 as well, 97, 98. And Malaysia basically eventually have to impose a capital control in September 1st, 1998. That was an interesting period. There was a lot of panic. By that time, I've already moved from Barings to HSBC James Caper, right? Now, it was an interesting period of time as well, if I may just dial back a little bit again. During that period of times, not only I get to meet a lot of fund managers globally and learn quite a lot, and each of them have a different dynamic, right? I also work with very talented salespeople. Salespeople are people I work in London, San Francisco, New York, Hong Kong, Singapore, or Tokyo, where they will, on a daily basis, they'll talk to customer, right? And these people are quite amazing. In fact, I'm not sure whether I was thinking whether should I share this story, right? I mean, I'm not sure I give perspective. Firstly, the salespeople are amazingly good at servicing the customer, right? But they're very good storyteller as well. In fact, I remember one of my favorite London salespeople, she called me and said, Kok Lin, give me 3 ideas to sell Sun Derby, right? Then I tell him, say, why you should be selling Sun Derby, a big company, whatever, right? And then after I finish, she said, oh, okay. Now give me 3 reasons why you should be buying Sun Derby shares, right? Then I have to think, I give him 3 reasons as well. And that's it. And then, about half an hour later, she said, well, she managed to convince one client to sell 20 million pounds of Sun Derby and sell it to another client, right? And the commission is 1% each way, right? And that was really the crazy boom time. But is that right or wrong? I'm not sure. But maybe different clients had different risk appetite, but it was interesting period. So also tell me, say, sometimes you really have to do a lot more independent thinking than just trusting, some of the view. But again, that again is a very different, interesting period. But since then, things have changed quite a lot as well. Now, 1998 came. Malaysia did a crazy period of imposing capital control. I remember leading up to the capital control was very interesting because I moved from Barings to HSBC because the whole team of salespeople I work very closely with, they moved from Barings to HSBC. So they asked me, we work well, we moved together. So I was actually in the trading, sitting in the same treasury floor with the team, or the currency trading. And the time was quite tense, right? Because after capital control, currency attack on Southeast Asia. But what's more interesting is that after the period of time, all of a sudden, investor was so upset with Malaysia. And remember so well, because all of a sudden, because of capital control, they cannot sell their shares, they cannot take the money out. And I remember that as an analyst, then we used to have to call the clients to update them what happened, right? So previously, when we call them in 1993 to 92, 3, they love to hear from us, right? I mean, they love to have our time. But after the 1998, if I pick up a call to them, they basically go straight to voicemail. And even there's one call say that, no, if you're calling from Malaysia, F off, don't ever call me, So there's a lot of anger there. Yeah. So after 1998, I also realized that there's not a lot I can do in Malaysia. Then I joined a firm in Singapore, UOB Hian, and I was shuttling between Malaysia and Singapore, right? It was quite interesting. But having said that, I know there are a lot of Singaporeans there as well. I do like Singapore, but I think home is Malaysia. I think Malaysia is still a wonderful place to live. I don't like our politics. You know it very well. But in terms of place to live, I think it's still a wonderful place. So I'm back in Malaysia. So at that point in 2000, 2001, then I say, what am I going to do, right? because I love investing. And so I started my company in 2002. So I applied for a license. Bear in mind, I've always been in the sell side. I have zero experience on the buy side as portfolio manager, except for the fact that I meet and talk to them a lot of time. But just because I do believe that, I love the analytical part, investing part. So I started that. That's good and bad, in the sense that I may not. So a lot of things I do may be a bit deviating quite a fair bit from the traditional fund management. For example, I don't have the concept of benchmarking. We may have a benchmark, but I don't follow the benchmark. If I don't like this company, in fact, because the way I invest is through understanding the manager, the owner, the company. So you could be a big benchmark stock. I don't like it, we don't own it at all, right? So I run a benchmark risk, but that's better because my clients all say, we try to make good return, long-term business as well, rather than just benchmarking, right? So I've been doing this for about 20 years now. It's been an amazing journey. Not been easy every time as well, but it has been quite a good journey. And I always look upon it as running a marathon rather than a sprint, right? Because you really have to have your mental state, work hard trainings, and have a team of people working with you to run a marathon. It's not a 100-meter sprint. I'll just stop here for now.
Wow. Well, this is amazing, amazing stories. And then I know, they're managing a business for over 22 years now.
20 years. 20 years.
It's not easy. It's very difficult, for me as an allocator to find someone who is, running business more than 10 years. It's actually very rare. Right. And then I know this is, probably based on your, the long-term philosophy, as a, this marathon, and then the focus on the people. And then that's very different from, the many other investors, especially, I believe in Malaysia. And I know, Jain, they prepare some, the documents. So I'd love to, to hear, I think this is something to do with your companies and then your investment philosophy. And then, so if you can, they share a little bit about this, that would be great.
Oh, okay. We didn't really. Well, just maybe share. Well, let me maybe tell you the company philosophy, right? It's not on the slide, but our philosophy, which it's the same for the last 20 years. When I first started, it was the same 3 principal philosophy. Philosophy number 1 is to say we invest in businesses that we understand. So the key word here is businesses rather than stock or share. Even though we only invest in publicly listed shares, but when you look at it, we say businesses that we understand. The key word here, businesses, because we believe that we have to understand business. So when we look at company, we say, if this company is not listed, would we buy it? So that kind of mindset. So it's very simple, right? So if you want to really invest, you have, if someone say, a friend of you say, oh, would you invest in my company, right? I mean, and it's not listed. What's the first thing you come to your mind? You probably say, do I like this friend? Do I believe he can do well? Do I trust him, right? So that is really the key thing. We have refined it slightly by adding the word called responsible investing because of ESG, but really, but the same thing. It's always been, and that we understand, and we try to understand. And if we don't understand, if we do a lot of research and don't understand, we'll walk away. We don't mind missing the stock, right? And in Southeast Asia, in Asia, in emerging market, a lot of us some company also have a lot of what they call political linkage. So because so and so, therefore he can get contract, he can get this thing here, therefore the share price is going to do well. We shy away from that. We stay away from that because we don't think we don't believe this is sustainable. Secondly, we ourselves hate corruption, so we're not going to profit from corruption at all, right? I mean, that doesn't make sense at all. So even so those are we're quite clear about that as well, right? So increasingly also we believe that things that have create social ills, like casino, whatever, we begin to stay away from that because we don't think it's really healthy for society and it can be long lasting as well. So that's principle number one. The principle number two is that when we look at company, which I mentioned to you, we always look at management first, then only look at industry attractiveness and the company structure. Then we look at valuation, right? And the principle number three is that we believe that to do well long term, you really have to focus on the risk management, understand the risk of your investment. Yeah, so that has generally been the philosophy in terms of how our investment philosophy.
Wow, that's amazing. And then I look at your the websites and then some of the letters, and then the Southeast Asia, including Malaysia, stock market was not very easy place to invest. And then I know you don't care a lot about the benchmark, but then the overall stock market didn't do almost anything for the last almost 15-20 years. Right? But then your performance is just it stands out compared to those local markets. And then how do you explain your outperformance during this the summer the little bit difficult the time periods for many active managing investors?
Yeah, I think Shinya, you're right. ASEAN as a group has done nothing for the last 11 years. 11 years ago and 11 years now, they're probably almost like zero return at all, right? But bear in mind, prior to that, 8 or 10 years prior to that, I think from 2004 until 2012, ASEAN was the best performing market in the world, right? Of course, that got to do with also, where the money flow, right? But as I say, for us as well, I think we are just purely, so for most of our portfolio, we probably have in a fund, we probably have between 15 to 25 position only. We don't believe in, well, basically we say that we need a diversification, sufficient diversification, anywhere from 15 to 20, it will be sufficiently diversify away your non-systematic risk, right? So you basically have to achieve diversification, but we don't want to have 50, 80 stock like most people, because we believe that the other way to manage risk, principle number 3, is to understand the company deeper than most people. So we actually spend a lot of time trying to understand the company really, really well, right? And that helps us to mitigate risk. And in fact, certain stock we own more than 5, 6, 7 years as well, if we think it's really good. And I think that to us is really the key. So let's say, in fact, in Malaysia, there's about 1,000 listed company. Those that we think that worthwhile for us to consider investing are probably less than 200, right? But it's okay, so we are not investing in the market, we are investing in company. I think for us, if you do it really consistently, we believe that the return will take care of itself. Maybe Jian can show the calligraphic, right? The 天道酬群, right? So this is one of my motto. So for those Chinese, this is called 天道酬群, right? So in Mandarin idioms, it basically say, whether gods or heavenly, whichever you're believing as well, it will reward people who work hard persistently. This was written by one of my really respected calligrapher in Taipei. It's one of my favorite and his favorite as well. And it's actually in my office as well. So it constantly remind us of being really consistent, hard work. And so for us, our journey is really keep on doing what we believe is right rather than worry about short-term deviation from benchmark. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, that's amazing. I like this, your consistency for the last 20 years. I think you set your philosophy and then just, the follow, of course, maybe there are, there's some changes, adjustments over time, but then the principle, seems hasn't hasn't changed a lot. And then I think that was maybe the very important the reason for your success as well. So today we have a lot of
Sorry to interrupt. If I may add, right? Talk about hard work, right? I mean, someone introduced me a book called Bounce, right? And that's why I put it down here, Bounce by Matthew, because I know that Chai Xuan is going to ask me what books to read. So I'm not sure I mean, it's an interesting book, which I think sometimes we give it to our interns, or our interns, whenever they come, they'll be given the books. I'm not sure which book we give to Chai Xuan, whether this one or the other one. And it's about 10,000 hours, right? So Matthew is actually a table tennis champion, Olympian, representing United Kingdom in table tennis, right? He wrote the book. And the story is about persistent hard work. Basically, say every single one of us, right, should be able to become a world class, really top, if you put in 10,000 hours. So in fact, in UK, the small little village, they produce a lot of table tennis champion. And because there's nothing much to do, and they basically every day, playing table tennis, right? And so the books is talk about all that. Of course, then people say, hey, 10,000 hours, right? In which case, wouldn't taxi driver become Formula One champion, right? Why are they not, right? Then the question is actually the 10,000 hours must be focused, purposeful. You must be focused on what you're doing, right? So in fact, the book also show that there's a professor wanted to also believe in this theory. And then he was saying, okay, he got three daughters. What do I train them to prove, right? Then they think the best, of course, the best way is actually chess, right? The international chess. So he trained all the three daughters from very young age, purposefully. And today, I think 2 of the 3 daughters are among the top 10 grandmaster in the world, right? So everyone is possible. Of course, if you want to play. So of course, certain sports, let's say, for example, basketball, right? If you're too short, you can never be an NBA player, no matter 10,000 hours you play. But I think in investing, you find your niche, you really be very focused, purposefully work hard on it. I believe that that will increase your probability of success or luck a lot better.
Wow, this is a very important message for young people. And then I think this also shows the power of compounding. And then continuing on the simple, but then the one thing again and again. And then I always feel that our members are very lucky because they are finding this investment as a passion at the very early age of their life, not only a career. So then they have extra time to compound on this the amazing journey.
Yeah, I think Shinya, you're right. I think power of compounding, the earlier to start better. And on one hand, I do believe they're lucky they have exposure, but at the same time, I think also their job will become much more difficult though, because at least to me, I think they have a much more difficult environment because today the information flow is overflowing. There's too much information, and a lot of them are purely noise. I was electrical engineering, right? So what is a noise? What is signal? So a lot of things is noise. So I find that if I were young people today, it's going to be very difficult for me to differentiate what is signal, what is noise. And there's so many on the internet, YouTube, noise. There's so many expert, guru, whatsoever. And in the short term to me could be 3-5 years. That the thing could continue to do very well, right? And we think about all this, some of those cryptocurrency whatsoever, right? Then you don't, for 3, 4, 5 years, they continue to be right until it is no longer right. The bubble bursts, right? So it's difficult. To me, it's quite challenging for them. The question, of course, is that what you're doing and the team member attending this good. I think sometimes it's very important to still be a bit old-fashioned, go down to a very basic, really understand the real business, be real about it as well.
But then you might feel the same in Southeast Asia equity back in 1990s.
That's right, exactly.
Somewhat similar.
You're right. I mean, it reminds me like in 1993, 96, at a 27, 28 years old, we think we were God, right? Because I remember like at that point, at the peak of the market, I just got a piece of news. I wrote probably like a 60 words because the morning news, every morning we need to send out a news to clients and they basically have a meeting. So they want to confine to one page and about 3 or 4 story. And if I get to write one of the one story, and I push out the story, and then in the morning in a meeting call, I basically make some recommendation. And before the market opened, we got order to sell, right? And in fact, the moment the market opened, the share tanked 10% immediately, right? It's so powerful. And then I was barred from seeing the company for 2 years. But they're good friends with me now as well, right?
Wow.
But again, but in looking back, those were really, so it remind me that, but having said that, also remind me one of my mentor at Citibank, and he said, Kok Lin, don't call yourself a banker until you have gone through 2 economic downturns. It is easy to be a banker in a good time because lending money is easy, right? You give money to people, right? And you lend, if the economy continues to do well, they pay back, you lend more, lend more. It's easy. It is when you have a downturn, whether are you able to collect back the money. So unless you've gone through 1 downturn, 2 downturn, don't ever call yourself a banker. Likewise, I think for analysts, fund manager, we really need to go through rounds and rounds of bear market. We need to get burned by the super bull run. And then hopefully you mellow down and you'll not be tempted, influenced by the market.
Very interesting. Okay. Now I know a lot of the young investors are waiting to ask you questions. So I will hand over the microphone to them. I'll just the pick based on the previous discussions only for those who are showing the videos, of course, and then just make sure this is should be more interactive with you, right? And then not just the asking questions. Please introduce yourself and then maybe explain why you are asking those questions instead of just simply asking questions. Then you can actually have the real conversations. Okay, so I'll let's start with Wai Chen.
Okay, so good evening, Mr. Teoh. So I'm Wei Shen, currently a accountancy student at Singapore University of Social Sciences. So my question actually involves around the philosophy regarding what we will refer to as fund manager remuneration. So if let's say, given that you operate on you look at your sort of invest on a long-term horizon, right? How would you define the remuneration of your fund managers? Would it be based on, say, the performance of the fund, or would it be based on assets under management?
Very good question. Well, for us, we basically, I think, for us, it's a function of base fee, which hopefully cover our research costs, and then performance, if we performance as a long-term reward, right? The market itself is all over the place as well. And where I think it eventually is boiled down to the kind of R&D you put in as well. I mean, for us as well, we don't intend to be growing too big in terms of AUM, right? So it's a different philosophy. So for us, it's more boutique. We want to keep ourselves not too big. And also purely because for me, when we first started, money in there is my family, my cousin, friends, whatever. In fact, right now, a lot of money are, people become friends, right? It's more like really the journey about growing. In fact, for the team, one of the best, what they call, something we always enjoy is actually, we also manage for a couple of charitable funds. And over the last 20 years, we've grown their asset by multiple fold, right? So in fact, when we first started this fund, they're like small, 2 million, right? And they every year need 100,000, right? And I think a couple of years ago, they say, Kok Lin, we got a happy problems. We're now sitting on 12 million and we're still paying 100, 200,000. So in fact, they start changing the policy, changing the mandate so they can give up more, right? And those are the things that inspire us as well. In fact, this morning, I know we rescheduled this meeting because this morning, my whole office, the team, we were doing fundraising. Every year we attend the charity fair. It was good fun, right? Everyone was enjoying it. Everyone's so at the bottom right was our interns as well. We make our interns become a fantastic salespeople. And that itself is a lot of meaning. And actually it put meaning into money, right? What is you going about helping? These are for hospice services, palliative care patients as well. Yeah. So I think those are the things that you probably, I'm not sure too young for you, but I'm 59 now, I'm thinking more about different part of the priority as well sometimes. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So I actually do have another question. So given that maybe let's say the focus of the fund is more of long-term and the focus of your investments is more of like the development of and the welfare of your staff, communities and societies, right? So based on this question itself, right? So if you actually had the opportunity many years ago, right? Sorry. So what actually, may I ask what experience shaped your investment philosophy and process? Like what led to the development of this investment philosophy and process?
I think which is a good question. I'm not sure whether I got your question correct, but you see, I believe that basically what we tell clients, we are equally selective with our clients. So we basically would spend time with our clients for them to understand us, for us to understand them. And if their philosophy are different from us, we say don't start, right? Because it's a boutique, I own the firm, I can be selective. So our client tend to have a more similar philosophy. If I were to run a BlackRock, I have different KPI. I want to be huge AUM. I have many different products, right? But for me, I tell people, say, this is me. I can't be today a conservative investor, tomorrow become aggressive on the other portfolio or trading because I don't have split or multiple personality. So in fact, investing, as I go through a journey, I realize that it's not only about understanding the numbers, the philosophy, whatever, but also have to suit yourself. My philosophy may not be suitable for you, but you can still be a fantastic fund manager. And and everyone have a different style, different approach, and you must match up with your own personality. You try to duplicate someone else, it may not work that way because you may not have that kind of a mantra, right? So I think those are, I'm not sure whether I deliver my message clearly.
Thank you. I believe you've actually delivered your point clearly. So maybe the best way to rephrase it is such that as we're going on this journey of investing, we need to develop our own set of philosophies that we can be true to, in a sense, be able to commit to.
Yeah, on the over above that, you have to understand your own personality. It took me a while to even understand myself, right? And what kind of investment style it really suit me. And in fact, to be fair, it's still an ongoing journey to try to understand that.
Wow, that's exactly the message the Z Club is trying to deliver. And then this investor journey is as a very good way to understand ourselves as well. And then the seeing who we are and what kind of investment style is suitable. I think that's critical for as a successful investor. So I want to go to the next person, John Long.
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm John, studying accountancy and business at NTU. I guess my question is, given the long-term nature of your fund, how do you convince clients to perhaps not pool their money or get jumpy, especially during downturns? I know you partially mentioned it because you have the luxury of choosing clients with similar philosophy, but perhaps how do you give them that peace of mind?
No, I think it's a fair question. A, we engage them as much as possible at the onset. So in fact, whenever I show client, I have a 20 years track record, the first thing that I always show them, say, how much money I lost in 2008, how much money I lost. I always highlight the losses first, right? So at least, that's one part. The second thing is, of course, engaging with client, especially during difficult time. When the money, you're not making money, market is tough. More recently, you see client, some of them may be upset with you, scold you and put money up. It's fine, but I think you really have to be going out there, try to educate them. So that just, so we've been lucky. We do have some client for real reason, no need to pull up, but most of the time we generally been quite lucky.
Yeah, I do believe choosing clients is very important, and much more important than raising a lot of money in the short term. And then having it's more like I think the Kok Lin's fan club. So they will stay, and then they want to see the both good and bad time. So sometimes it's similar to probably a little bit like maybe a relationship with people. Yeah,
I think relationship with people are very important as well. Yeah, and bear in mind, because clients have been, a lot of them become really good friends as well, and I want to be able to whenever I ever retire, I can walk on the street and see them in the face as well. So in performance, how we take care of the fund is very important as well. So in the sense that, therefore, and being your own boss, you do have the benefit of you don't have to chase a KPI of AUM. So you can say, no, this one really not suitable. Let's not start the relationship, right? Yeah.
Sounds good. Maybe we have the time for one more question. If there's anyone who want to ask a question.
Hi, I have one question, please.
Go ahead.
I'm Ophir, based in Israel. I'm a self-taught software engineer, and I switched to finance after being drawn to the value investing philosophy by reading books. So I am a retail investor right now. I don't have many stocks to invest in or many capital. So I want to know, how can I reach a strong enough due diligence so I will invest all in one stock or one or two businesses. So what are the key traits? You mentioned trust in management. What are the key traits you look for when with your due diligence about management? And do you think, and my second question, do you think it is accessible to retail investors?
Very good question, Alfie. Maybe the first thing I think is that you don't have to own many stocks, right? So for us as well, even we have portfolio 15, 20 stock, but individual, you can take more risk, 1, 2 stock, perfectly fine. Secondly, in fact, sometimes the best idea happen in your doorstep, right? So for us as well, in fact, we see that while Malaysia, ASEAN market generally not well, but we pick all the most of our winner actually come from Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, purely because we are close to the ground, right? How much do I know about Apple? I use Apple phone, Apple everything, but do I really know Apple well compared with other people? Find your own home ground. I mean, so in fact, some of the best ideas just sitting right in front of you. You don't have to be sexy with everyone to have big name stocks as well, right? Some boring, simple stock. And because of that, you actually would have a lot better information than the fund manager that's sitting 10,000 miles away. I'm quite convinced about that because I meet so many of them. I mean, so a lot of great fund manager, but how often do they come to Malaysia? How often they come to Indonesia or Bangkok, right? So for you, then you live it where you are, you know it much better than people as well. And information today, of course, you can do the financial information whatsoever, but the best information is really talking to people. In fact, one of the book is actually a simple book called One Up on Wall Street, right? Peter Lynch. It's an old book, right? I mean, some of the best idea come from his wife going to supermarket, right? So those are simple things. So don't, to me, investing is about common sense approach. While it's nice to have Porter competitive analysis, SWOT analysis, DCF, whatsoever, but sometimes it's just pure common sense. You know, remember I told you a story that my boss told me, say, some of this in the financial doesn't make sense. Don't trust the number, right? So I think that, so you're not being put disadvantage. Choose your battlefields, right? You choose an area where you can compete better with other people. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And by the way, do you feel these days the issue of trusting the numbers is a little bit more alleviated?
The what number, sorry?
Do you feel these days we can a little bit more trust the numbers?
The short answer is no.
All right.
Yeah. I'm quite happy to take a couple more questions, Shinya. It's okay. Because I was a bit long-winded later just now. If it's okay with everyone.
Okay. Oh, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Okay.
Thank you.
I think there's a room for, one or two more questions. Don't be shy.
Hello.
Hi,
My
Olivia.
yes, my name is Olivia, and but I'm Chinese, so my Chinese name is Zhang Jiayu. Yeah, and I noticed you talk about don't trust a number, but actually recently.
Olivia, before asking questions, can you can you share who your backgrounds and who you are, and then where you are?
I'm one of candidates of the club, and I'm trying to apply for this club's program, which is called the Value Investing Program. Yeah, and I'm from China. I said.
Which part of China?
Yeah, I'm from China. Yeah,
Which part of China? Sorry. Which part of China?
Oh, I'm from the northern China, which is hot in Mongolia, and I'm studying. Yeah. I'm studying.
And you study there as well?
I studied in Beijing, which the university called University of International Business and Economics, quite a long name. So the short name is UIBE. Yeah, in Beijing.
Okay, 很好.
Yeah, 谢谢. Okay, your Mandarin is good actually, because your explanation of your 天道酬勤 is very yeah. My question is actually recently saw some video and also saw some article about a company. It's a very famous company. It's called Long-Term Capital Management, LTCM. Yeah.
Yep.
And that company was very successful, but they failed because they trust the number too much. They underestimate the people's influence of the market and also other reasons. So based on your answer about don't trust too much about the number, so how should we balance these two things? Like, well, the number is actually a good thing to value a company or stock, but actually the people is complicated, it's complex, and they have a very complicated influence on the market. So when should we to trust the number more, and when should we to consolidate the people more?
Olivia, great question. I have no answer to you because it's something I'm still trying to struggle with as well. And when I say don't trust number, actually, eventually I think you need to trust. I mean, I look at company, I only need 15, 20 stock in my portfolio. So you look at the people first, right? If you trust the people, then the numbers, then you have a higher level of trust in the number. And then the numbers itself, you need to do a lot of due diligence to see whether it makes sense. You have to test your common sense approach in that manner. Yeah, LTCM blew off, there are a lot of PhD students. It was a big deal during my time as well. It fantastically blew off. And again, I clearly don't have a good insight on LTCM. I said that a lot of Nobel Prize PhD and have all this quants matter, whatever. Again, it is tough. I'm not sure. I'm not saying that it's good or bad, but there are also always a lot of exception as well. I mean, so even as we speak as well, next 5 years, the environment could be very different from the last 40 years. As I say, last 40 years is a lower inflation, great moderation inflation. Next 5 years will be very different. And how do you take that into account as well? Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your answer and your time.
All right, Olivia, good questions. All right, so the last questions are coming from Gavin. Please go ahead.
Hi, Mr. Teoh, and I'm doing
Gavin.
I'm doing accountancy in National University of Singapore. So thanks for the sharing just now. I can really resonate with the point about how you need to filter out the noise versus the signal. It is something I also find kind of struggle with the information overload here. So that would be one of my questions is how do you kind of understand better? I know you mentioned understand better a company, like apart from the financial statements, what do you even look out for? Like I know there's a management, so management, I can't really talk to them as a student. Is there like the governance side of the annual report any particular features I should focus at? And just one more question is, I know you talk about the niche, so I'm trying to kind of like find my niche also, and that I'm hoping to look more into the SEA region, like Southeast Asia. So let's say for Malaysia, what do you think is the outlook of Malaysia, and how can I like better understand it? Maybe from an industry point of view, or should I like go into individual companies? Yeah, I'm sorry for the loaded questions.
No, I'll try to see how to blend. Certainly, we are very much bottom up. We do overlay with top down. So understanding the company, the people, is important to us. Well, I think the question of really how do you get access? You don't get access to the management. There are two parts, right? I mean, it's not too difficult as well. I think at the end of the day, my parting remark is all about our own mindset. Don't underestimate the mind, right? If you want to do it, you can. It's not difficult. Even to know someone, you don't even need to, nowadays it's so much easier, right? You have LinkedIn, Facebook. Sure enough, 6 degrees of separation, or now even 5 degrees of separation, you'll find someone that work in that company, know the company. You can say, hey, you work in that company. How do you think about your boss? Right? So a company have 500 employees, right? You find even the secretary there, a cleaner there. You can ask about how the company culture, right? You not necessarily need to really reach out to the boss as well. Or you can say, hey, the boss, associated with certain industry or games, whatever, you can go and find people that may know about him, right? So it's all about your mindset. If you think about mindset, say, I'm a student, I cannot dance, no? Let me finish with this simple story about running, right? 2005 or 6, right? I was invited for a charity run, right? So this corporate say, Kok Lin, send your team, donate some money. And my team members have to run 10 kilometers as a CEO, 1 kilometer, right? And one day before I go and try a run, I try to run the race. I couldn't finish running 1 kilometer without stopping. And that upset me, because when I was younger, when I was in secondary school, I was a middle distance runner, right? So I represent the state for 1,005. I run cross country, but even there was 3-4 kilometer, right? So always a record holders, whatever. But then for 20 years, I haven't been doing a lot of exercise. But in my mind, I thought I'm still a runner, right? So when I couldn't finish 1 kilometer, I feel pretty upset with myself. And then I started change my mindset, gather a team of people, and within 18 months, I ran my first marathon, right? And it was in Prague, right? I will save you detail, but even then, right? I was all confident after a while. I hit the wall at 32 kilometer, but eventually I finished. But then I realized that I need a team of people, have a plan, and be very consistently. And as any marathon runner, marathon runner, the dream is to do a sub-4. I learned from a Japanese professor, a sub-4 is a big thing. And I was quite happy that within 2 years from then, I did my sub-4 in Osaka, right? At the age of like 54, 55 years old. It's possible. It's all about in your mind. And in fact, I think exercise is so important. In fact, so this morning, in fact, I woke up 5 because my wife was preparing for the charity fair. I woke up, I went for a run as well, because I think when you run, it actually produces a lot of positive energy, chemical, and I do a lot of my thinking when I'm running as well. So exercise are very important also, So I think, and that helps you to be very positive thinking, persistent. Then you wouldn't say that, oh, as a student, how to access whatever. You are able to, you just have to think harder, work harder about it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, there's the part, I didn't catch the part about the Malaysia.
I think Malaysia, I won't comment on.
Keeping on.
I won't comment on Malaysia market outlook, whatever. I think you can read about that. Again, it's all very selective. Yeah.
Thank you.
Maybe I can comment on how students gain access to experts and stuff. I think students will have a thing that you are a student, right? So when you reach out to experts, especially on LinkedIn, you can always utilize your status as a student that you want to learn something for a project and stuff. And that usually works out quite a lot, especially among LinkedIn experts and stuff. You just need to find the right person to follow and then just ask for it. Even when you are a very young analyst, because I started working right now, right? Sometimes even corporates, we don't have the right access to the right experts as well. And then we ourselves have to go to reach out to all these kind of industry experts, so-called experts through LinkedIn or any ways that we can find. And then, yeah, just be very polite and then reach out. And then maybe out of the 50 you reach out, you can get like, maybe a handful of 5, and that's basically good enough. Yeah, that's it.
That kind of positivity, that's why immediately my team say we must bring Chai Shen in as an intern. So Chai Shen intern with us, because of her, her positive thinking, and she was amazing, right? She can find all kind of things. When she's interning with us, she will find a lot of things that even some very experienced analysts are not doing, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Gavin, you'll be surprised that you actually have a lot of access to the people, but then the people just they have a preoccupied mindset that, oh, I'm students, I don't have access. That's not true. And then that's the most of the time it's the excuse of people who never tried. You should try, and then if you still cannot get it, then we can discuss. But then I'm pretty sure most of the people who said, oh, we don't have access, they haven't tried.
Sinja, can I leash on to that and be long-winded? Because you just talk about something, you say that it's for someone who is an excuse for someone who never tried, right? And I know Chai Shen don't have a chance to ask about book, but so what I'm on Wall Street Bounce, and the third book is actually The Last Lecture. The Last Lecture by Randy Pausch is a professor at Carnegie Mellon. He's deemed to be what they call the father of computer science, right? And I think he delivered the last lecture. If you don't read the book, you can actually have a YouTube as well. And he said, and in fact, I have a what they call running band, right? So like, if in case something happened to me, so I got one of this band, then they put in my wife contacts, my profile, and there are a couple of extra space, and I put there say, and I basically quote from Randy, right? Say, the brick walls are there for a reason. The brick wall, when you hit a wall, right? And exactly what Shinya is saying, the brick walls are there, are not there. Basically, the brick walls are not there to keep us out, but the brick walls are there to give us a chance to show how badly we wanted something, right? So all these excuses is for you to climb over the brick wall to show something, to show how desperately you want to be, be able to achieve it as well. Yeah. Thanks.
Kok Lin, thank you so much for amazing sharing. Hopefully this is not the last one. We would love to to have this lecture again. Just the kind of the linking with the last lecture, and then yeah, well, thank you very much for sharing. This is super inspiring, and then our members they really enjoyed, and then hopefully you'll keep in touch, and then maybe we can do something online. I'm sorry, the offline in in KL. We have a lot of members in KL right now, and then thank you again for your support for the club.
No, more than happy to share, and you're doing a wonderful job, Shinya. Thank you.
And Jane, thank you very much for joining us, Paul.
Thanks for having us.
All right, everyone, have a good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Yes,
Good
thank
night.
you. Good night. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.